Hello, hi, my name is Tarina Hines. I was basically gonna flashback to when I was little. Um, all the people in my household, they worked a job. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Um, I remember early 1990s, I was probably around 6 or 7 years old. I was basically living in an 8 bedroom house and three bathrooms. It was my aunt household. Her name was Eula Armstrong. She stayed on Superior. We all stayed around each other. My family members, they used to own properties and stuff like that when I was coming up. So the neighborhood was a black neighborhood. It was the West Side. I stayed at school over time. I was like 6, 7 years old. And I remember the teacher, she was white and fat, rounded. She reminded me, she reminded me of a round basketball. I don't mean to talk about her like that, but she was doing so much complaining. Very ungrateful, very mean. I don't think she was supposed to work with kids. But I was like in preschool. I think I was in preschool probably during that time. But we were stacking chairs up. I helped her stack the chairs up on the desk. I helped her clean up the room, tidy up the room, the classroom. And she had another teacher there. And the other teacher was sitting up there looking all mean and stuff. So anyway, the white teacher, she called the cops. Okay? And the cops were black because I stayed overtime. I stayed overtime in the classroom. My mom was working late, and the teacher got concerned, like, okay, who's going to come and get her? You know? So the cops came. All I know was to point. They asked me my name. All I know was to point out the things that I knew about. I didn't really talk that well. I had a speech issue, so I was very quiet. I was very silent. The only thing I did was make gestures to give things away, basically. I would make gestures to give the person away or to say what this person did this or did that. I was just little, I was from preschool, what a preschooler is supposed to do. So anyway, when the cops took me inside their car, we went around the block and she said, okay, this is Superior Street. This is Chicago, Illinois, the West Side. And I remember as a little girl pointing out the house. And these were black cops. They were not white. They were not Mexican. These were black cops. And we pointed in that same direction. I pointed it out. She didn't point it out because she didn't know what house, but I pointed it out because I knew what house I was staying in. And she said, oh, you're a pretty smart little girl. I said, yeah, I am. That's the way I was looking. I was giving her that look. And we knocked on the door and stuff. I was able to go home. What I'm saying about this situation, it was not neglect, but at the same time, the cops took me to my home, to where I had to go, where I had to be. I never met any bad cops in Chicago, Illinois. I never met any bad ones. And these were black cops. They were very nice women. These were women. So I've never met a bad cop in the state of Illinois because those cops were very professional and they were very nice. And when I got old enough, as a 12-year-old, I joined the Junior Police Explorer Team, and these were black cops. I was around black police officers that were very professional.